talking the issues and taking the hit. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
Alrighty, and welcome back from the break. And we would again like to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. Mark and I have been talking about, the stuff that's going on in our country. They're about to. If you're not paying it, if you're not upset, it's because you're not paying attention. You are about ready to get snowballed, and we're here talking. And I hope you're listening because we're trying to wake you up to the reality of what's going down in this country.
Yeah, and maybe I can try to preface the question that eats at me all the time is, we all talk about solutions and we can fix it, we can stand, we can fight, we can save our nation, but that's all really cute when you're just chit-chatting, but
yeah,
how do you make a concrete plan? It's the difference between planning a vacation 5 years from now and actually getting in your car and going somewhere.
Exactly. And
we're at that point, in my opinion, that if we continue to just stand back and worry about it, then it's going to be too late. So you were discussing some pretty good ideas, and there's just got to be an option that won't get you arrested and still put up a good fight.
Well, see, okay, so the First Amendment to the Constitution gives you the right to peaceably protest your government. But they've twisted that.
Right.
They've twisted that to mean that they can go out in the street and they can block traffic and they can bust up stuff that doesn't belong to them, and they can, hold these signs and they can be, as violent as they want. And they're wrong. That's not what that's about.
No.
We need to start learning how the first thing you need to do, and I've said this and I'm going to say it again, is you have to become educated. Right. You cannot fight this battle unless you know what you're up against.
You have to know thy enemy. I mean, it goes back to the art of war, and it might sound cliche, but they are the enemy.
You have to know what you're up against, number one. Number two, you have to know the system of government and how it functions in order to be able to stay within the confines of the law and legally fight the law and know how to beat the system without being taken to jail by beating the system. So you have to know, okay, the Constitution is the law of the land. You have to know this document. I'm not telling you to go out and memorize the darn thing. I am not a constitutional expert, but I do take Constitution classes. I refer to the Constitution a lot. I carry the Constitution with me everywhere I go so that if I have a doubt or a question, I can pull out my little pocket Constitution and reference it. Okay. Right. And that's what I'm talking about. When I was running for council, I handed out, if not hundreds, thousands of these constitutions to people, because my whole thing is you have to get educated. Read the stupid thing. Right. Put down, stop watching, video games or whatever for 20 minutes a day and read the Constitution.
Just like people do with their Bible, and that's a big book. And I'm not mocking faith and all that, but if you're going to be religious, and you're going to sit down and read to the family or to yourself 1 or 2 hours a day or once a week, just spend, your afternoon Sunday reading it. What's so hard about the Constitution?
Right. I mean, and you have to, so that's the next step is, okay, first you have to educate yourself. You have to understand the form of government that we have. You have to understand a republic. You have to understand what a republic is. If you think about it, word republic, literally defines into rule by balance, okay?
Right.
A republic means rule by balance, a system of balances, and you have to understand that. You can't go into this fight thinking like you're being taught that we're in a democracy and all this other stuff, because they're brainwashing you and they're teaching you the stuff that they want you to learn. Right. Go to get yourself a constitution, start reading it, understand, learn how the system of government works. Learn that we have, 3 branches of government: the executive, the legislative, the judicial branches of government. Right. Learn that they are 3 separate branches with equal authority,
Right.
But yet they can't supersede, they cannot impose on the other. In other words, the judicial branch of the government is to interpret the law, not to write it.
Right.
Mommy and daddy's job over in the Congress, the House and the Senate.
Well, let me play devil's advocate, because a lot of people will always say, well, the Constitution is so complicated, and it's not.
No, it's not.
But after 200 years of, case law and precedents and stare decisis and all that, I've had people pretty smart in the Constitution, and I think even like Mark Levin said, well, a state cannot secede from the Union or secede from the Union. Well, maybe with all the dust and decay we've put on the Constitution, you could make a case against that. But the reality is, when it was written, it was not written as a suicide pact. And so you might destroy your state in doing so, because then we talked about that last week, that you've basically shredded your enabling document. So it's kind of like getting a divorce. You're no longer married.
That's right.
And so you don't have the last name, you don't have the house, everything's separated again. But when you really look at the Constitution and go, free speech meant what? It meant just two or three things. You can't look back at all of the case laws and the BS and go, oh, well, now I'm confused. Just remember, you legally have all the rights, and you have the right to free speech. You have the right to bear arms. You don't need to take a training course. It might be a good idea, but you don't have to.
Right. That's exactly right.
And so they've muddied the water, so it's so damn hard to actually study the Constitution. It's like reading Dick and Jane with 200 years of what that meant. And was his name really Dick, or was it Richard?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, it's Dick and Jane.
Right.
So that's, to me, I think whether it's a conspiracy or not, they have muddied the water, and it makes it hard for the average person to study the Constitution.
I agree. That's why you find a good class and you get enrolled.
Okay, so without firing a shot or getting, deemed as a terrorist organization, and we've seen that around here with the Minutemen and all that, eventually just so much BS pressure comes to bear.
Yeah, I remember George Bush called them vigilantes.
Yeah, so how do you, because if you don't move laterally or one way or the other, if you lock up, then nothing's going to get done. So how do we?
This is how we do it.
How do we do it?
This is it. All right. Pay attention, because I'm going to put it real quick in a nutshell.
I'm all ears. I got my big
Number
headphones
one,
on.
education. Get yourself educated. Understand the form of government we have.
Right.
Number two, now you have to learn how to use your civic authority to control your elected officials. Well, how do you do that? I don't know how to do that. Well, it's real easy. You go out and you meet your representatives. Okay.
Right.
You got to get off the lazy butt. You got to stop watching the video games. Go out there, go over to your city council, watch the city council meeting. After the city council meeting, introduce yourself to your council members. Introduce yourself to the mayor. Hey, my name is so-and-so. Hi, Mr. Mayor. My name is so-and-so. I'm one of your people that live here, and I've got some concerns. Most of the time they have a call to action where you can actually go up there and you can address them. They give you time, a call to the public where you can take your concerns to your representatives.
Right.
Create relationships. Look, I know my representatives here in the state. I know them. I have their phone numbers in my phone. I have their email addresses. I call them. I meet with them. I go over to the meetings. I know the mayor. I know the council. I know the sheriff of the county.
And more importantly, they know you.
That's exactly right.
They know your position.
Now, here's the thing. We're coming up on an election season. And remember, you hear me saying, pick your ponies. Pick your pony wisely. Go out and meet that pony. Go out and meet that representative. Study, find the ones that are matching your viewpoints, and go out, shake their hands, work to knock on doors, I'm about ready to go out here pretty shortly and start collecting signatures for some people that I know that are going to run for, office here, and I'm going to support them. And I will go out and I will collect signatures. I will hand them those signatures. I will work with their campaign. Okay, you don't have any money.
So it's not like a big hard thing now. So you're talking local then, right?
No, because we're
not
talking
national garbage. It's just
no. I'm talking both, because we elect our state senators as well, and we elect our congressmen.
Don't get me started on that, but
okay, we elect them. I know. We ended up with the lesser of two evils in the last election, but that's because it's our fault, Mark.
Right.
Most people are sitting at home. They don't care. I'm giving you the solution on how to fix it without firing a shot. It takes energy. You go out, you meet these representatives, and you get them elected. But you make sure that they're individuals that are going to follow the Constitution. I don't care if they're Democrats. I don't care if they're Republicans. I don't care if they're independents. You're looking at individuals that are going to adhere to the confines of the Constitution without making up a bunch of crap. You work to get them elected. Okay, now you have a friendship with them. Now when you call them, they will listen to you.
Right.
Okay, so now you have their phone numbers and all that because you helped to work them get elected, and they know who you are, and they know that you're on their side, and they know that you're a friend, and you start saying, hey, look, now I want to write a bill. Will you run that bill on the floor in the Arizona Senate? Will you be willing on the House? Would you be willing to do that? Yeah, let's talk about the bill. So whatever the bill is that you as a citizen want, for instance, let's say if, for instance, you want to run a bill that says if your city in this state is going to support sanctuary cities, we are going to restrict you and not allow you to get funding from state funds.
Right.
Okay. And you take that to your representative and you say, okay, look, I want to run this bill. Will you sponsor it? Absolutely. I'll sponsor it for you. Now you get it put on the floor. Okay, now you have somebody that's willing to sponsor your bills and help you get them passed. Once you get them passed, they go through the House, they go through the Senate. Now they go to the governor to sign. Guess what? The governor just signed a bill that you wrote that says if you want to support sanctuary cities, you no longer get state funding.
Right.
Okay, now you see what I'm saying? You're controlling the system.
Right. To a point. Yeah.
To a point.
Because you still got all the other, 100 congressmen in the state,
but that's one state. Now you have to create relationships with like-minded individuals in other congressional districts that are willing to do the same thing in their congressional districts.
Okay, wait a minute now. I'm going to go back to devil's advocate. It's not that he needs an advocate.
Okay.
So as you're saying that, because I understand what you're saying and how it works, my eyes are glazing over. Blood is shooting. Because, I have enough time in my life to get to know my local guys. And I have no problem helping the local mayor and a couple county people because I can do that at work or after work, a couple hours a day. So wouldn't we need to then get some people together that work with other like-minded people in the next county over?
That's exactly right.
And then start building little links to where you're not trying to herd cats. You're just saying, I know another guy that thinks just like you in the next county over. Work with him, and then that way you're not spending all your time in the next county over.
That's exactly right, Mark. You got the nail on the head.
Okay. And it looks like we're going to have to take another break and then continue on with this crash course in civic duties.
Right on.